Today you'll see 4 new garments, 2 tops, 2 skirts. The origin of these garments come from pre-loved items, so I basically use those items as fabric. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have what is actually limitless sewing because I've done it in a way that's non-conventional. It means I haven't taken a pattern and brand new fabric and put those together and created pieces. I've actually taken garments that were other things in the past and used that as fabric. In the past, I used to go thrifting a lot. When I lived in Bolivia, there was a lot of outdoor markets. I could find a billion used clothes. But since living in Brazil, I can't find any actual thrift shops around my area. I guess I'd have to go to a larger city. I just haven't had that experience here. But I have had the opportunity of buying pre-loved items online, which is great. And also when I visit my parents in Chile, in their city, there's a whole block. I go there every summer and I try to find a few pieces for the future that I can have a lot of fun with. Now, sometimes the way that the seller has valued that item is not really related to the quality of the fabric. Maybe they're just not knowledgeable in that sense, and what they see as valuable is something else. I don't know, so the prices have ranged from whatever, and I'm usually just focusing on the fabric when I see these garments. It's always helpful if it's maybe a size larger than my size. One size is enough, and maybe it can even be smaller, and it's better if it's smaller depending on what you want to do. So when the garment is smaller, there are ways that you can still make it work if your size is larger, and that's just by viewing it as fabric. And that's what I did with a linen dress I found back in Chile before the pandemic. That's how long I've had this deconstructed garment. And when I deconstructed it back then, I didn't think about filming it or photographing the original garment, but just imagine it's a little bodice, fitted bodice, size 10, made out of 100% linen, brown dress. It had a bodice seam, and then the skirt that came below was really full and really gathered and really long. So even though the dress I found was like a size 10, it would never fit me. I know that by taking that apart, I had a lot of width with that skirt. Usually when I go thrifting over there, I have a little sneaky tape measure in my bag, and I just measure, and I measured the width of that fabric of the skirt and figured out, hey, there's a lot of fabric here for me to cut out something like a top. Here, the value that I see is the fabric. It's 100% linen. It's pre-loved, of course, so it means it's really, really nice, but just so soft and so beautiful. And then the seller sells it to me for whatever price because she thinks it's ugly. I have a go-to pattern for these types of upcycles, and I've actually used it before to upcycle a shirt. I kept the shoulders, I kept the collar, I just did all the sleeves and the armholes and extended it, and then I placed on top my Cadence top pattern piece, just aligning the shoulders. And I did that to get a nice, really shaped side with a bust and not have it all be boxy. It's a pink shirt I made. I showed that process a couple of years ago, so I know that this is a go-to pattern. It fits me really well. It's sort of considered a basic for wovens in my opinion. And I've made this like, I don't know, 13 times. This is one of them. This is a dress version, and this has got a rounded neckline. Love that, with a tiny V, bishop sleeve, lots of options. So if you want to know more about this pattern, check out my playlist about the Cadence because I've used it for so many things, and it's the Feature Friday pattern for today. So it's only $5, so that is a bonus. Don't forget to use my affiliate link. You don't pay any extra, but I get a small commission. My current code is PINS10, and that gives you a 10% extra. The code is going to change in July, so always check in the description box what the current code is if you watch this in the future. And about Feature Fridays, make sure you're subscribed, turn on your notifications, tap the bell there so you always know, because next week, Feature Friday, I'll be the one featuring one of my favorite patterns over on the Love Notions YouTube channel. Make sure you check out what I create for them over there. It's amazing. I'll also have a video over here on the same pattern. So I've been preparing this for months. I'm usually just creating content for Love Notions once a year, and this is my once a year, and I'm very excited about it. Just a heads up, just for you who watch this channel. Next Friday, keep your eyes open. So what you see today are 2 tops made using the Cadence. One, I made it using that linen dress as I mentioned. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the process of that, and then I'll be back to show you the top. These used to be the front pieces of my dress. It was gathered, it's quite long, and there's a button placket in the center. You can see the buttonholes there. I've just pinned them both together so that they stay together so I can place my pattern piece here. I've placed my skirt piece really tidy along one of the lines of my cutting mat. The Cadence originally has a center back seam with a bit of shaping there, but I'm not going to use that shaping because my button placket is straight. So I've just folded the excess away and just straightened that back back piece out. Whenever you want to use a placket that's already made, all you need to do is align the center of your piece to the buttons right there. That is actually the center, because anything left over from the button onwards is going to be the overlap you have on your buttons. So just align the edge of your paper with the buttons and you'll be sweet. And now when I place my back piece on top of this fabric, it goes right up to the edge of the fabric, so it's just fitting my fabric. I've done the same with the front here. This was the back piece of my skirt, so this was really extended wide. This piece of the Cadence is cut on the fold. Now I'm gonna do my neckline with binding, and I'm using the back part of the bodice. Really small, this bodice would never fit me, but it'll be enough for me to cut some binding. I've got my ruler placed there at 45-degree angle, and I'm probably gonna have to cut 2 pieces and piece them together to get it to fit around the neckline. You can always see how to do this on my channel. I have detailed videos about binding. Here you can see a cheeky piece of fabric in between these sleeves. I basically sliced the sleeve in half from the dress. It was tiny, it would never fit my sleeve piece, but by attaching that piece in the center, I'm gonna get fabric that's wide enough to fit my sleeve pattern piece for the Cadence. So that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna just attach those and top stitch them, and it'll look intentional. Here is my sleeve all sewn together. I've got the seam there, and now you can see that I've got enough to cut my piece. So I'm gonna do that on both sides, make sure I mirror them. This is the collar from the dress. It's already interfaced. I cut a piece, and I'm gonna use this little piece to make tabs to go on the sleeves. Here is my top, almost sewn, everything serged. You can see my button placket is from the original. I have a few matching buttons right there. I'm keeping the original split hem on the side. That's why it's a little wider there on the side seams. And on the front, the best part is the fit, because we have some bust darts that I know fit me. I lower them by 3/8 of an inch. This is an extra large with a regular bust. I seam ripped the little pocket this dress originally had, and I'm gonna sew it back on once I'm done. I'm so happy how it turned out. Now, whenever my original garment has buttons, could have decided to put those in the front or the back, but I decided just to put them on the back this time, you know, just to make a difference. And this is my top. This is how I make a really basic top a little bit more special. So I've got the original buttonholes, and that button placket, as you saw, is just so easy to reuse and keep from the original garment. I didn't have enough buttons, so the first one is slightly smaller, slightly different. It will never be seen, it will be covered with my hair, but then all the rest are the same. And I finished my neckline with bias binding, as you can see there. It's really nice and structured. It was so easy to work with. Remember, I have always a bunch of helpful videos linked down below for videos that go into depth about how to do these things, the binding, how to make it yourself, how to sew it on. So that's why I don't film it every single time. I do refer to those videos. So that's how I finished my neckline right there. It was really, really nice. I always help my top stitching with my blind hem presser foot. Now you saw that my sleeve was small because this was a small dress. It didn't have the width for me to cut out the sleeve piece for the size that I'm sewing, which is extra large. So I just added fabric in between right there. So there's about a 3-inch extension that I was able to make that original piece sleeve wider, and then I was able to place my new pattern piece of the sleeve and cut it out. And I top stitched it, made it look intentional, which is really nice with linen. You can see my hem is top stitched. And then just for fun, I added that little tab. This tab, I would have interfaced it. So I just cut up the collar piece from the dress that was already interfaced. And it was so easy, you know, just to sew a little rectangle and just sew it in there. I serged the edge of that tab. I sewed that by hand to the hem, and then just flipped it over and sewed the button right through. So I think that's nice, and it gives it a little bit extra, a little detail that will tie up this with what's going on at the back. The front is plain, just on the fold. The bust darts are amazing. They always fit so well for me. This is a regular bust option, and it gives you a really smooth fall right here on the side. No drag lines, nothing like that. I love that. And this little pocket that was on the dress, I unpicked it from that little bodice and I just sewed it on here. It was actually the last thing I did, and I did it while putting the garment on and just figuring it out where I wanted it to be, and just top stitch that on again. The Cadence has a little slit that I kept. Now the Cadence top is slightly long for what I want, so for this one I made it 2 inches shorter. I shortened it right above the little slit here, so that this wouldn't change. I did my hem by hand. Even though I did the hem on the sleeves by machine, I just don't think a hem is pretty. I just don't think it's like a pretty thing. So I just decided to do it by hand. This looks like I would have paid a lot of money for this. It's 100% linen. It's beautiful. The color is gorgeous. It's a neutral. I'm trying to use more neutrals. And yeah, I just love it so much. You would have never known that this came from a tiny dress that was pre-loved. It was old and just thrown away. Here is my upcycled Cadence top made from a linen dress that was tiny. I have a button placket on the back, otherwise it's the original Cadence. I've got it paired over my stretched denim glissando skirt. It's actually 2 inches shorter than the original. It hits the mid hip for me. On the sides you can see the split hem and the button detail on the back that was original from the skirt. Scoop neckline is so nice as always, finished with bias tape. I've got the original chest pocket from the dress. I just took it out of the original dress and put it here, and you can see my sleeve is composed of a few pieces there just to get the width that I needed. I've got a little button tab there that's very nice. My bustard as always fits very beautiful. I love the fit here. I think the fit on the side is super smooth, and that's due to the shaping of the bustard. This is an extra large with a regular bust option, and I'm just so happy with this. My original dress cost next to nothing, 100% linen, beautiful. This is a neutral color. I'll be able to wear this in many ways, and I love the experience of upcycling this. This Cadence top has a really neutral color, which I'm very lacking in my wardrobe, so I love it that I can pair this with my new white jeans. I think this style is going to work over many colors, white one of them. And I have a whole box of linen shirts that I've deconstructed where the Cadence would be perfect to make different styles. The feeling of getting a new garment out of something really old is amazing, and the quality of the fabric is there. I have a tiny box in my sewing room that has already some deconstructed shirts in there. I'm excited to get those, and I can use the Cadence top for that. They can all look very different. I can just add different details to all of them. I think this pattern, once you make it and you get the fit right for you, it can just be so useful for these types of things. Now the second top I made is another Cadence. This time I used a knit. First time I've made it with a knit because this is not a pattern designed for knit fabrics, but I thought this knit was structured enough and heavy enough to be okay. I used a crepe Liverpool knit. Now this was a pre-loved dress that I bought online here. The only reason I bought it was because it looked new. It said it was brand new, and the print, love the print. So let me just show you this on the table. I deconstructed the whole thing. It's got a houndstooth print. This dress originally had a back center seam, so those houndstooth did not match. That looked awful. But it was pretty easy to deconstruct. It was serged, so I just undid the whole dress. I had sleeves, I had everything. My Cadence top fit right there perfectly for the front, and for the back I was going to have the seam that the Cadence has, so that was okay. This one is actually 3 inches shorter than the original, and I didn't sew the little slits on the side. I just folded that seam allowance away there where it got wider and just sewed regular side seams. So this would be considered like a basic knit top. I consider it like an elevated t-shirt. Elevated in the sense of the fit because it's got the darts, which usually t-shirts don't have, and they end up looking a bit more boxy. So you can barely see the distortion that the dart creates right there in the houndstooth. That means that the fit right here is smooth. There's no drag lines. And that's my pet peeve with t-shirts that don't have darts. It's really hard to avoid those drag lines coming from the bust over to the hips when you have a bit of a chest, because that's just screaming for a dart, and usually t-shirts don't have them. But this could be a t-shirt from the Cadence, right? I've got the sleeve. Everything was so easy to put together. I tried to match up the houndstooth, not in the print itself, but in this, like that they were in the same level at least. It was impossible for me to actually match them up because this is a curved back seam. It's not just a straight seam. It's got a bit of shaping in there, so it's impossible to get it perfect. And I did my best to match them up on the side as well in the level that these are so that they're not mismatched. The original dress was a mess. They just did a back seam and everything was like wherever it landed on the sides. I would have been very unhappy. I did see the value of buying that dress pre-loved because I love the fabric. It was so nice, so soft. And it was actually perfect to use a woven pattern with something like this. You know, I wouldn't want to use the Cadence to make a top out of rayon spandex or ITY or something really flimsy. But this is nice. Liverpool knit is really nice. It's stretchy but not super stretchy, so I think it's perfect. I hemmed the sleeves normal, I did the hem normal, and I used binding here, my leather look jersey that I always use, that's stitched in the ditch. So it's so neat. It looks like there's no seam there, and it's so neat. Love that finish. Center back seam, I pressed it open and I sewed it with a sewing machine, but the side seams are just sewn on the serger right there. Let's see it styled a few ways. This is my cheeky Cadence top made out of a Liverpool knit. It's quite a structured knit, sort of a heavy knit. That's why I thought it was okay to use a knit, because the Cadence is for wovens. All I've changed here is the neckline finish. I have the same bust darts. This one is actually 3 inches shorter than the original, and I omitted the split hem. I just have a normal side seam. I do have the center back seam with the shaping because I wanted that, and the darts are amazing. Scoop neckline. The sleeve is so nice, so comfortable. You can move around so well in this knit, and the scoop neckline here is finished with leather look jersey binding that is stitched in the ditch, so you can't really see any stitching. I think it's a really neat finish. That bust dart there is gold, and you can't really see the distortion that much, and it makes for a really smooth side fit there. Love it. Again, paired over my denim glissando skirt, which is a workhorse, and I just love this top so much. It's like an elevated t-shirt for me just because it fits so well. I've got the white jeans back. I actually bought a pre-loved dress and deconstructed it to make this Cadence top. It's just because I like the fabric so much. Couldn't find anything similar in the fabric shops. This top is black and white, so of course I could style it over something white. This mid-hip length is good for me, I think. I wouldn't want it any longer or any shorter, and it's just another way I can wear this and feel like I'm not wearing a regular t-shirt. That's great. I really love the fit of this Cadence. So those are some ideas using the Cadence top. I really love that pattern. I know I'm going to end up someday on the channel showing you, look at my 300 Cadence tops, because I just absolutely love this pattern for wovens. And now that I know it works for a sort of structured-ish knit, so many more possibilities. I'm very excited. Now, the other two garments I want to show you are a type of garment I'd wanted to have for ages and ages. And these are skirts that are sort of pre-pleated. And I've seen people wearing them here. I love them, but there's a huge but for me. They are always midi length. Oh my gosh, I just despise the midi length. Just don't feel good. I feel the frumpiest I can be if I had to wear a skirt like that. You know, the only way I would go out there in the street in a midi skirt is if I was coerced or under duress. I don't know, I just cannot. But I decided to have a look at some pre-loved sites that I shop here in Brazil, and I found two skirts. Now, I knew I wanted to make them shorter. Usually these types of skirts, you can't find fabric like this to make your own. At least I've never been able to find pre-pleated fabric like this, ever. I mean, if I did, I would make them myself, but they just don't sell this type of fabric. So because I knew I was going to take some length out of the top to make them shorter, because the bottoms of these skirts are already finished, I knew that I didn't want to buy a size larger than mine. I wanted to buy a size smaller, because once you cut off the top part, then it scoots up, and then you get the wider section that's going to match my waist and hips. I found two skirts. I did the exact same process with both. So let's see, very quick, very easy, chopping the top off, adding a yoga waistband, and voila, I have two skirts in the style that I really wanted to have, in the length that I really wanted to have, and I got them for a fraction of the price because they were pre-loved. So let's see. I've wanted a simple skirt made out of pre-pleated fabric for ages and ages, and I just can't find the fabric. This is a knit, a sweater knit, and it's already been weaved in a way that has the pleats set, and the pleats are wider here and then just start getting narrower on the top. A size small. The other thing is this is a midi length, and it's not a length I want. I want mine sort of mid-knee. Total length I want for my skirt is 25 inches. So if I measure from the bottom up, I know I can trim away and get a wider circumference over here and just add on a different waistband, and then I'm going to have a skirt that fits perfect. Now if you see the 25, the top goes up to here, and I've made little marks where I'm going to cut a little below, and that's because I'm going to add a small yoga waistband right there. It won't be a really thick waistband, it will just be 2 inches, and that will give me the total length that I need from the top here where the waistband's going to be all the way down, and I'm going to have the perfect length. So from this edge of the waistband I measured in a lot of places and made little tiny yellow marks right there. And this is where I'm just gonna trim. I'm going to try and do it neatly, considering the fabric is already pre-pleated. If I had found pre-pleated fabric, I would make it from scratch, but I just can't. If I get a small size, that doesn't matter because I'm going to cut it short anyway. And now in this area, I'm going to have a larger waist that's going to fit me. This is super stretchy. I mean, it's going to fit my waist. And all I'm going to do now is sew on a yoga waistband, and voila, customized to the length that I really want. And if I can't find the fabric, no worries. You don't have to make everything from scratch. I'm quite happy to take something like this and just modify it. I have already cut out my waistband. It's a leftover cotton spandex that looks like denim. It's so soft, so comfortable. And you can see the width here is about 4.5 inches. When I fold it like this, I'm going to get a nice narrow waistband that's going to be comfortable. It's super stretchy. It's got 10% spandex. It'll keep everything up without needing to put an actual elastic inside. So that's what makes it comfortable. I have already sewn the seam there. I'm going to place that at the center back. And if you measure this, I like mine to be at 3 or 4 inches smaller than my waist so that it's nice and fitted and it's going to hold the skirt up. Here I've got my waistband on the table. I've pressed it wrong sides together and just made a round little thing. I'm dividing this in quarters because it's the same way I'm going to divide the top of the waist of my skirt. These types of sweater knits don't have much recovery at all. This could stretch till tomorrow. So I'm being really careful with the handling before I sew on my waistband. I've marked pins in the center back, the center front, and on the sides. And I'm going to leave the seam of my waistband towards the center back seam. This skirt actually only has a center back seam. That's the way it is. So that's what I'm matching up right now. And then I'll just match the pins with the ones on the sides, the one in the center front. And then I'll be ready to sew on this yoga waistband. It's super easy. You can see the yoga waistband is slightly smaller than the waistline that I'm sewing it onto. And that's what's going to keep it tighter and fitted around my waist, but also very comfortable. I'm doing this directly on the serger, just being careful to keep these 3 layers that are raw together at all times so they don't move. So I'm taking my time. And as I get from one quarter point to another, I'm stretching my waistband slightly to match the waist of the skirt underneath. Now this is quite bulky, so I do want to do a sewing machine seam just to have that 3/8 seam allowance. I'm not going to use a narrow zigzag, which you see here that would look like a straight stitch. I think that stretches, but not enough if you want to pull it over your hips. So I want my zigzag to be small, but not that small. So these are the settings that I like. Now I'm just going to do this machine stitch all around the waistband. This is going to allow this to stretch nicely. The stitches won't pop, and I'll get that little bit of seam allowance in there. I feel it's more comfortable than just having that tiny bulky one. Here you can clearly see the tiny zigzag. You can see the zigzag. It's not a shallow zigzag, and this allows for really good stretch. It will go over my hips just fine. This is the first one. It's classic. It's black. It's a pretty heavy sweater knit, but it's not a hot type of sweater knit. I mean, it would be perfect for autumn for me and winter. And you know, it's not pleated up here on the top, which doesn't give you all that bulk. It's just sort of pleated towards the bottom. So you can see that the hem in these skirts is already done. You don't have to hem or serge or press up. So that's why I didn't want to mess and cut from the bottom. I wanted to cut from the top. There was a waistband here already. This skirt came up to here, and because it was like many sizes smaller than me, it was very small. But I just chopped that all off, and when you chop it, you just get a wider section here that scoots up to your waist. And this is how I was able to get the length that I wanted. Now, this is a little longer than what I usually wear, and I think it's suitable for a pleated skirt. I would not want to have a really mini pleated skirt. I think that's a little juvenile for my 44-year-old self. I probably would have rocked that when I was 15. Just mid-knee, under the knee is the length that I decided to create here. And it's just so pretty. You know, if you find yourself something like this, you can make it be what you want it to be, because we have sewing machines. That's so awesome. We can decide what we want. We can do it, you know, we can just cut stuff and fix it. Here is my first pre-pleated skirt that I made shorter from a pre-loved ready to wear. This is not the original midi length. It's quite a lot shorter, sort of below the knee, which is the longest skirt I would ever wear. More sort of an autumn outfit. Comfy yoga waistband keeps it up, and I've got it paired with my Cadence top in the knit. I think this is really nice. All I'm lacking here is a jacket. Cadence top in a knit is going to serve me so well for both winter and for summer. And I'm so happy I get to have a skirt like this that I really wanted to have in the length that I really wanted to have. Here's another look with the same pre-pleated skirt. This is my sweater knit Amador top from Itch to Stitch. I think these pair really well. Really nice slingback shoes. A little pop of red in the bag, and this is a super wearable and comfortable outfit. Again, with a skirt that has a little bit more volume like this, I'm looking for a top that maximum reaches my mid-hip. I'm never gonna tuck in, let's be honest. Maybe this would look better if I tucked in. I'm just not gonna do it because I don't feel comfortable, and that's just not how I live my life. So I'm happy like this. I feel great like this. Although I am breaking a few fashion rules, I don't really care. This is the other one that I found. Now I did buy another one very similar to this in a brown tone, but that still hasn't arrived. So I'm very happy to do the exact same process with that skirt that's coming on the way. And this is another skirt that as well has the edge finished right here. You don't need to do anything. And you can see the sweater knit, how it's got like golden sparkles, but it is a green color. Waistband on the top. I originally thought I was gonna use it, so I unpicked it. But it was a hot mess. This sweater knit doesn't have great recovery, nothing like that. It's not supposed to. So yeah, that was a hot mess. I couldn't reuse that waistband, so I just added my own. This is an athletic knit, green. No one's gonna see it because I don't tuck in, but it serves the purpose of holding the skirt up. And I just sewed it on. I did the same process as I did with the black one. Here is my other pre-pleated skirt that I shortened using the same method as the black one. From far away, it looks nice and green. Closer, you'll see there's a few specks of golden thread in there. I have a matching scarf to give the outfit some life, and my boots. Very nice. This is just a cable knit t-shirt ready to wear. I've had for many years. My yoga waistband with an athletic knit is super comfy. This type of skirt is so comfortable. I just wish they sold these types of fabrics. They just don't, at least where I am. I have a brown one that I bought also pre-loved coming on the way, sort of very similar to this one. I'm really excited to get that one modified as well. And because my Cadence top is black and white, I think it goes great with the green skirt too. Slingback, block heels, and this is a great autumn outfit for me. For those who wanted to see me in a longer length, this is it. You can see that I was able to sneak in my new Houndstooth Cadence top, the knit one, with these skirts. I think this top is going to go a long way. To dress it down, dress it up, I love it so much. It's such a nice elevated tee because of the fit. Now, if I could find that exact fabric in a fabric shop, I would have bought it because I love that print so much. But I just can't find that. So if I find it in a pre-loved garment and I just take it apart, it's such a great experience for me. I hope you got inspired and go and hit the thrift shop. Maybe you can find some really nice linen shirts that you can remake and get them to fit you and look amazing. There's so many men's shirts out there that are just amazing. Usually when the placket is with the buttons towards the other way, that really does disturb me. So in that case, I would probably end up leaving that placket towards the back because it's less noticeable, but that's just me. I would, change the buttons. There's so much you can do. You can find the base material, which could be such good quality out there for such a low price. And you can end up with this amazing garment from something that maybe would have ended up who knows where, Remember to check out the Cadence. It's my go-to for things like this. It's an amazing woven pattern. Check out my videos all about it. I have so much using that pattern here on the channel. That's all from me. Have an amazing weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye.